Hello, my name is Sandra Perrone. I'm a professor of arts and humanities here at Springfield Technical Community College and gallery coordinator of the Amy H. Carberry Fine Arts Gallery located in Building 28. The Carberry Gallery strives to foster intellectual engagement and dialogue beyond the traditional classroom by breaking preconceived notions of a gallery as an exclusive space. One function of the gallery is to share who artists are, what they create, and to inspire students to pursue their creative endeavors and their career goals. Fine arts courses are open to everyone here at STCC, and the importance of visual literacy to every student's overall educational experience cannot be understated, no matter their major. I originally conceived of these virtual Carberry Conversations interviews in response to the pandemic and life on Zoom, with each interview covering a wide variety of topics, including origin stories, the impact of current events on artistic process, and the function of art and photography. I continue to offer this virtual format, keeping our programming accessible to everyone, while creating an archive of these conversations available on YouTube as a community resource. Today, it is my honor and privilege to speak with Mexican-born artist Pável Acevedo as part of our celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month here at STCC. His exhibition, The Shell in the Clouds, El Caparazón and las Nubes, is on view here through October 6th. Acevedo began his art studies at the Rufino Tamayo Plastic Arts in Oaxaca City while he was an assistant and student at the lithography studio. He completed his BFA in visual arts at La Escuela de Bellas Artes, Oaxaca, where he studied under the guidance of prolific artists Shinzaburo Takeda and Raul Herrera. In 2010, he moved to California, where he became involved in printmaking projects for social justice and educational awareness in communities of color throughout Southern California. And in 2015, he opened his printmaking studio collaborating with the Desert Triangle Print Carpeta, located in Riverside. His work has been in numerous solo and group shows, and he travels between Mexico and the US doing printmaking workshops and commissions. Thank you, Pável, for traveling over 2,500 miles yesterday to spend these 2 days on campus. It's really a pleasure to have you here. You've been with students all morning, and it's just been really, really fantastic. So I'm really excited to be able to speak to you about this work. I guess what I would like to start with is, why did you become an artist? What's the were you an artist as a child? Did you always dream of being an artist?
I didn't think about it at the beginning. I mean, I think I wanted to become like a teacher. That's what I was planning to become at the first time. My mom is a teacher. She retired, but she was a kindergarten teacher. So I did like what she was doing because it was a lot of like art was making, and it was like art, and there was all these other activities with students. So to me, really like it a lot because it didn't feel like elementary school, you know. So I was like, there was a lot of art involved in it. So I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I kind of tried, but it didn't go through. And I thought about art, but I didn't have like a understanding about it, you know. I was like, oh, I would like to like do illustrations, but I don't know what does that mean. And I used to live in Puerto Escondido, Oaxaca, in the Oaxacan coast. And later I moved back to the city, which is Los Valles, Oaxaca City, the valley. And that's when I ran into by accident, the Rufino Tamayo Taller. And that's when I saw there was the education that was happening there, but it was like, you can sign up into the program. And yeah, that's how I started. So yeah, it was just kind of like that. And I started doing it. And I kind of went for a little bit to school just to try to get into education through law school, but it didn't work. It didn't work at all. It was just like, it was just a failure, which is like fine. Failures, I guess. So yeah, I went to Rufino Tamayo, and as a self-taught basically, I knew I liked to draw. I used to draw since I remember, but there was like painting. I want to learn. I was looking a way to learn how to paint like properly, but over there it was like more like painting what you feel, your stories.
Yeah.
And later on, that's when I ran into lithography, and it was run by an artist friend, Saul Hernandez. And that's when I became like interested about printmaking, because it was a way that I can learn it on my own and just have the sense of autonomy, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, it's really diverse printmaking, as you see.
Yeah. Well, when I think about printmaking, I think of it as like there's part of it's drawing and part of it's carving, like almost like sculptural, right? In a way, because you're carving these drawings on a block, right? Can you talk about that process? Like what is it about that process that really makes it for you, makes it interesting, makes it, because it seems complicated to somebody who's just a photographer.
When it was lithography, it was like drawing on a marble stone. And when it was drawing on the marble stone, it was different than like carving into like a wood block or lino block. So I was carving on this marble stone. And I was attracted at the beginning because it was, how do you do a drawing into a stone and later print it on a paper? So there was the marble stone, and we have to grain the marble stone with the specific it's like a powder like metal, and with the disc, and level everything with the roller, a calibration roller, and it has to be like we have cross paper underneath the ruler, and it doesn't have to move anywhere. It has to be stuck. So when it gets stuck, it's just perfect. But when it goes down for a little bit, you don't even see that. It's like you have to do that. So I did like a lot, all kind of the physical labor you have to do it, because it's on the same time, I felt like I was doing it and I have to think about what I'm going to be doing or planning it. So it's kind of you get into all this process. And it was similar, quite similar to like carving, because you have to like carve out plan. But later it was the way for me to create an order of what I want and what I was like interested about creating images or what I wanted to bring to conversation. And I had to like help in the chores of the studio. I have to help in like cleaning the studio, help out with new folks coming to learn. So there was a times that I have to just be doing other labors and have to think about my work. So that's what I really like a lot from printmaking, instead of like I was being painting in front of a canvas. I did like it, but I was like, I don't know, I think I liked painting on that time because it was just like, I want to paint, And later, I don't know, it felt like sometimes isolate me, or isolates painting. And now to this days, I think I still like the most printmaking, because I mean, I can still do my work, but I can still collaborating with different people, and that's what I like it.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like for you, like this collaborative effort of like working is really like a community, right? You're building a community around the work or around the creation of the work.
Yes.
How did you, like, when you think about the subjects of your work, how do you decide what it is? Because some of your blocks take 2 months, 3 months to make, so it's a big commitment. But when you're thinking about the imagery, what?
I was sometimes when I think about like the imagery, it's like to think about like what probably is happening, but not consciously, I guess, in this time of what my interests are in life, probably. And I started like working into the images, image making, but at the same time, I wanna like, since this image, I wanna like being affected by other like circumstances that live around. Because even like once there was this like, I read like an art and like what is it called? It's like something about like what's original in art, and there's somebody wrote that nothing is original because you kind of like, you're affected by your surrounding, like what you're seeing unconscious. So to me, I kind of always leave that gate open about what's like cannot explain, but it just happens there.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to, in order to be happening, you have to be working, you know, you have to be always in the process. So I kind of want to like be a reflection on what's happening in reality in this world, but it could be just like transform it in different like ways by image. I guess that's what I really like.
What impact did the pandemic have on your work?
It was like to be more thoughtful, I guess. To be like probably like looking in and out, you know, and zoom into stories, and especially in what I really like into my persona, into like even like stuff, and even things that it could be a little bit like hard to say or hard to like even confront myself and how everything's gonna be perceived. So that's what I feel like. Even I feel like it's more like, well, things were gonna go like weren't gonna go well, so why should like keep like quiet, you know? So that was the thing, like kind of in a certain way, like push things to the edge in a certain way. So it was like, no, let's do like big, you know, or let's bring this, or why not try this?
Right.
Or and yeah, that's pretty much what I like. It was the thing, because when I was creating like that work, I would have to like kind of like not change consciously, but there was something that like took a time and remake some images and be thought about like my identity, and it was just happening when this residency beyond the press with Sophographics was in it.
Right.
So it would just happen like
So you got the residency with,
Sophographics.
but right before the pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just right. It was like 2019. Yeah, we're gonna be the residency. I went beginning 2020, and I remember just going on the first lockdown to go and pick up this plate, to go and pick it up and from the studio, and I was like, all right, we'll see.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, yeah, that's fine, you know.
Did it,
That's
I
our
mean,
life.
but you talk about it being a collaborative process, but when you can't be in community, and there was a time when we weren't as,
Yeah, it was just
right?
virtual.
So, yeah, virtual. So did you find yourself just in the studio by yourself, or?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I was. Yeah, and that time I still have like my work living space together, and it was just like the time that was like a little bit like weird. I mean, everything was weird, and but I was just like really like I didn't have to like worry about like yeah, I have to worry about like having an income in those times, you know, specifically being an artist. But yeah, there was something else that probably make me feel that, oh, we are all kind of in the same boat, you know. So it's like, okay, so you know, I feel like creatives have always been asked like, what are you making for a living, or blah blah blah. They always want to like monetize or like capitalize everything that we do, or like, and so it was like kind of a way that, okay, we have a break, I guess. So yeah, I felt like it was time to like think about it and think about like the conversations that it was happening with Marbella from Sophographics, and yeah, be like more like have more like a decision about like everything, every step that I was gonna take from there till now.
So I know that I mean, now you say political activism is part of your work. Was it before, or what happened that made you more politically active?
I think I mean it's always been, but this time it was like, because sometimes I seen it into the art making. I feel like I can just bring something else into conversation, specifically in the imagery, because sometimes I feel like, I mean, I was part of like being there in a lot of situations when it needs to be taken in action instead of like meditating or like trying to something like from outside. So I feel I mean I would like to be more, you know, like even like a little bit probably more like more graphic about it, because even I was like seeing a lot of art that I really like. It just step into those terms, and even like everything that was happening in those times in 2020, it reminded me a lot especially living it here in the United States, it reminded me a lot that was happening back in 2006 in Oaxaca. So happening to me to find out still like being present there in those moments, the community to ask and demand accountability to like those organizations of power, you know. So I feel like, I mean, this is just goes beyond, you know. So it's like, yeah, it's something that it's like something that it needs to do, you know.
Yeah,
That's what I felt like.
So we're sitting in front of one of the pieces that is part of this larger body of work, the shell in the clouds, El Caparazón en las Nubes, which came out of that residency, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about this piece in particular and how it is representative in some ways of this work, this body of work?
Yes, yeah. When I thought about like the characters, I was thinking about it. They have to live in this time, you know, and they have to have this place where they like have a relationship with another ones. And I was thinking about like the ecosystems that they can live among it others and have an autonomy. So I thought about like the turtle, and the reason too is because there was a story about like the turtle and the buzzer, and when it's like the buzzer. Like I was told this story when I was like had a young age in Oaxaca, and it was like where this turtle was like picked up by the buzzer to ask to see the goddess. And this tale and like many other tales like were told by my grandpa. So in those times that it was happening, 2020, I was thinking a lot about it. But even to them, besides those stories, there's always like, to me, like there's a political meaning. So that's why I was like really more interested about it. So when it was happening, I think about like they have to exist in the land. And so I was like the best place to be is like on turtle. So even like the turtle, when I was like thought about it, which is like this, well, there has to be a place where you have to find out like where are you situated if you live in a north part, south part, west, you know, and there's already these relationships in art and symbolisms, you know. So I just thought about it, like for example, like describing the north parts, like in the higher elevations, in the birds. And sometimes when I'm creating other like images, I think about this piece because they're still like they're living this land, even though it's like fictitious, but it could be real. But so that's what I was thinking about the creation of this piece. And like even this character, they could probably jump into other pieces. So it's like this continue the relationship. So I was thinking even too in those moments where everything was like happening in a different way in 2020, I was just thinking that time that you can think about like yourself, you know, and just like be thinking inside. So that's what I was thinking about this character, which is like, it was a time for this character and many other ideas to be born. So even when I was coming with this, I started thinking from this image, I started thinking and creating the other ones in a way to approach them too. And even because when it was displayed, the exhibition, it was thinking like for myself, like an installation. So it was like, I have to accommodate, like the creation was happening in order to this print, and in other words, to the 4-point, like north, south, west. So that was kind of the idea. It was like dictating this print.
So do you want to talk about some of these figures within your work? And it's a common thing throughout the series, where you have a half human, half animal. What does that represent for you?
It talks about, like, for example, topics like immigration, like the fish, they just like, they travel or like swim among the ocean or the water. So it's like something that doesn't stop, you know, and they follow like natural rules and no like man-made rules, you know. So that's what is something about it. It's always kind of like questioning something that is like, and what questioning something that's a natural order is like no logic about it, and there start coming conversations that they don't take places and start just causing division. So that's what I feel about it. And it was, for example, too, like resonating with other stories, for example, about like Zapotecs, when when it says like before the Spaniards came, there's some stories that they're like said like Zapotecs, they left this world and they just like run through the forest and they turn into animals, so they jump into the water and turn into fishes. So that was too like a lot of like relationships to me. But at the same time, all the stories that even I heard from my grandpa about like animals and like this relationship, hybrid relationship entre like between like animals and person is too like a way to like have this relationship that we have with our environment, our community.
So is that what you call the Nujales, or is
Oh,
that
this
different?
it's different. In Oaxaca, we call it Tonos.
Tonos, okay.
Yeah, so it's like the relationship that you will have when it's a newborn through like an animal, and that's kind of that bond is gonna be like for the rest of their life. And that was something that just happened in my family. So that was kind of always those stories. So like just it was there. So to me, it was just like coming through this series, And like I said, even before that, like having this tale that we have like the relationship with the animal, there's still like it's just a fragile way those tales they're always like could be like trained by modernity, or what like other stuff that happen, and even just like causing like, for example, like happened to my grandpa, had to move out from his community in order to like to support their family, and that evolves and causes other stuff,
Right.
happen generational.
Yeah. So when you think about your grandfather and the stories that he has told, do you see, I mean, this morning you were describing so many different stories. Do you think that the work that you're doing on this series has gone, like spreads out into other series and encompasses more stories?
Yes.
Like I mean, in some ways, like you are passing on that tradition of storytelling, but doing it in a visual way, or?
Yeah, it has, and it like too has find out ways to like even like look to expand more, I guess, too, and in a way to like I don't know, hopefully like I mean, if somebody is like always feel inspired about like kind of telling, where they're coming from, or like that's something that comes into arts as well. So yeah, it has helped me definitely, and it's something that I always kind of feel I was interested about it, but sometimes I was just like, I don't feel like, but ever like, I don't feel like. So later on, I was like, yeah, it was kind of like, it's something that was been in my head. It's the time to just like put it out
Right.
and feel comfortable about it.
Yeah. So these are, you said tones,
Tonos.
sorry, excuse me.
Yes.
Can you describe the Nujales? What are
Okay.
those
The
figures?
Nahuales is like
Nahuales.
Nahuales. What I'm like understanding is like when folks could just like adopt the features of an animal and act like an animal, and like but mostly they're folks that have in a spiritual level, a major spiritual level, and they used to like appear like it was like more popular during the Aztecs, but it used to like appear in like communities. They're still talking about it, and how they just specific people is like practice the rituals and they pass along. So after like the Spaniards came, they just call it like into witchcraft and everything like that. And it's still like in places, but in Oaxaca, it's like known. Oh no, I don't want to say in all Oaxaca, but like for example, in the Sierra Sur, where my family was from, and it spreads along the costa. And like there's some difference in it, like in a way to describe. But yeah, for example, yeah, there was churches where they still like find out some animals were like carved, and it's like a way like like as a gift, like an honor to pay to them. But yeah, like there was like some communities I remember they used to tell like there was more known to have tonos on those like communities. Yeah.
Where did the name of this series come from?
The Shell in the Clouds.
Yeah, what does that mean?
it came out from this. It was inspired by the this Nahuatl word. Nahuatl word is called Mixtepec, and Mixtepec it means like the mount, the mount with clouds, and it comes from mixedly means clouds, and Tepetl means mountain, so it's Mixtepec, and that was the it came out it's on my grandfather's town. It's called San Juan Mixtepec. And a lot of towns in Oaxaca, and not just only in Oaxaca, they still share the Mixtepec. So it was to me like something to honor them, just to not be directed, but so it's just to have to bring the attention to it. That's why I just put it in. Like at the same time, it was just to think about like how like this life, all this like beings in this artwork would live. They should live on top of an animal, and I thought about a toro. That's why it just was inspired by that.
Yeah. So when you think about this series, were there any times when you were maybe trying a new technique or trying to get a different message and it didn't work? It didn't, because I mean your prints are stunning. I mean the detail and the imagery and the scale, like you have some that are very, very large, some that are very, very small. Did you ever have some plate that just didn't work, or that you might say like failed to get the message across, or that didn't work?
Yeah, there was sometimes that I feel a little bit like they feel I have to like stop on the image and like just revisit it later, or like work on the image and not include it, and just like but continue with the concept into the next project. That's what I just thought about it in a few of them, and like in that conceptual area. But like thinking about like technically, yeah, there was a few of them were like I need to explore more like this a way to approach it into like another situation. And even it's great because at the same time it's having like there's like open windows to like for following like a series, or like for like just developing more like the artwork. Like yeah, definitely happen. It always like it's like the process, there's like stuff there like for some reason sometimes they don't happen in that moment, but they stay with you for a good other reason too as well.
Also, the process of printmaking, right? Like when I think about drawing, right? It's like this additive process. But when you're carving into something, you can carve too much. You can take the wrong thing. Like, how do you fix that? Is there a way of fixing that, or do you start all over? Like,
yeah, there is a way to fix it. There is all this like plasters that you can just add and fix it. But sometimes, many times, like I have to myself, and like that's what I was sharing with the students. It's like it's always good. Like if you fail into something, that's the benefit. Like brace the fail. Brace it, keep it, enjoy it, and all that is like good. Just have it and just like do it again.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like a lot of folks are like, I don't want to do it again. And I say, it's just because you're doing for learning, you're not just doing it just to get a clap. It's because it's good for you. So I have to like go back and redo the image. And it's great to see have those feelings, because it's like, it's a commitment that you as an artist or creator, you have with yourself, those have a word, and stick to it and and learn from it. And yeah, it's great. Specifically, I remember there were teachers that always used to talk about the way they like how you learn from your mistakes. But later on, like as some of the pieces here, like my approach was to show some of the larger scale versions and the small ones, and a way for them to specifically like students that you can do like studies from one to each other, and do arrangements, because a lot of feelings like when you're not just producing something this kind of, it's gonna get consumed in a time, but at the same time it's just like you have to like grow up as an artist, a creator as well, and the best way is just like have your time, set it up in your studio or like whatever house, and just create it. So that's why it was my
Yeah.
intention to put it in.
Well,
show here.
when your work arrived last month, and it's like Christmas for me, like it's like Christmas, you know, it's like
Yeah.
this is like under the Christmas tree, and I was taking everything out one at a time, and I started with the small, and then they just got bigger and bigger and bigger. What I loved was the fact that you did include those smaller ones that are like, I don't know if you call them studies or if you think of them as a standalone image, but and then when installing the show, I tried to be intentional about having that,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
So
I
that
saw
they
that.
could speak, because, as an academic institution, part of what we're doing in this space is learning
Yeah, exactly.
about this art, the art of printmaking, but also about your heritage, about the culture. But I thought that was a really interesting thing that you did by including those smaller
Yeah, yeah,
pieces.
because like yeah, most when even like do a workshop or something, they're like, people, can you do this faster? Or is there a way to blah blah blah? And it's like, no, I mean, you just have to. That's why you're making a commitment for this, you know. There's no short way.
Right.
There's no
right.
magic bullets for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Well, I feel like with printmaking, it gives you time, right?
Yeah.
Like you have time with this image. I mean, how long did this one take?
Yeah, this one took like probably more than a month. And that's true, like since we live in like this society that everything has to be rushed and everything has to, as there's a deadline.
Yeah.
It's understandable. There's pieces that has to be like, you have to like do it, Other ones like you cannot, sometimes you have to give it time. And even myself as an artist, I see some artists that are like a year working into something and I'm like, oh my God. I'm thinking of myself because sometimes we have like life, anything happen in like a month, and sometimes if I do something in a month and come back later, I don't feel the same,
Right.
And
right.
in those situations, I think it's a little bit different. But yeah, it's something even as an artist we have to like learn and understand for others.
Right. So how long would it take to do maybe the smaller ones, like the 9x12,
The 9x12.
versus the 44-inch by 53-inch?
Yeah, even for example, there's one that I did. It was like a 12 by. It was a 9x12, and it took me like 2 months to do one.
Oh wow. Okay, so it's not based. So it's not just about the size.
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes even like one that is big is a little bit like faster,
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this happened. There even like one tiny one. There was like, it took me. I carved it up, I printed, carved it up, printed, and nothing was coming. I'm like, this is funny. And at the end, I ended up pulling what I like, and I was like, wow, that. I mean, sometimes it's not the size, but yeah, even like for example, one of the mashu, which is the mask, since it's like a different way to approach the wood, like a stippling, I had to definitely do more studies. I did that one, but I did the same stippling technique and then other prints. So it was a way to like understand more about that craft and technique, because I was like, oh, I never done it on my own. I never done it, so I have to like practice it. That one.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the other thing that we should mention about printmaking, right? Is that, I mean, usually, right, there's a series of from the same plate, right?
Yes.
So maybe you have, well, this one's 21, right? Others say 3 of 6. Another one might be 13 of 50. Do you print all of that edition at once, or does that just give you the option to continue printing it?
Sometimes I don't like print all at once because I'm printing other stuff at the same time, and I forgot until I run into the numbers. I'm like, oh wow, I guess I have to print. But it's because like I'm working in more than one plate, and sometimes I'm doing other stuff like besides like carving. I'm like painting or preparing for other projects. But that's like that's a bad habit that I have. But but I like to keep it like a lower number of like prints. I usually like to keep like no more than 20 because I just feel like, yeah, I don't want to like go farther, and I feel like I always want to be like making images, so it's like it's something that it's not up to the the editions, and that's sometimes that I don't like about the edition making for prints. That everything has to look like this, and it's so frustrated sometimes, and it's so boring to be doing it. So
Yeah.
sometimes when you even like do one just perfect, in the other part, like people that gets too like into, "Oh, this is the number, oh, this is blah blah blah, the measurement is frustrated with them, but it's fun. So I always like tend to keep it like into a short number, and even like I guess like we'll get to like to more hands probably. I feel like we'll appreciate it more, and yeah, because sometimes get away all 60 prints, and they
Right,
take a
right.
while.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 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 yeah. So there's a quote, one of the things in this exhibition, besides the prints, is video of you carving, of you walking, of you collecting materials, of you pasting, by Paul Neruda. I stroll along serenely with my eyes, with my shoes, with my rage, forgetting everything I walk by. What's the significance of that quote to this work?
I think it was describing about like, or describe some part of the practice on what I do. And specifically, like I was describing about like what like the video, like Los Ojos en las Manos was happening. And it was something that was happening on a conversation with my friend Adrian Dison, who filmed the video. And we were talking about like I didn't want to put like words on it, or I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted something that just like could be like seen and describe a little bit of what it is this. And it was happening right 2020, I think happening in September 2020. So things were like changing a little bit. It kind of felt like it was changing. And yeah, I felt like it was a lot like describing those times, everything sometimes got like quiet.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was just like something that want to have it into it, just kind of capture those times in that video. And yeah, my friend Adrian was reading Neruda, and I was like, "Have you heard this?" And I was like, "Yes." And I was like, "I think it fits on it." And I was like, we were talking about even like how visually could be like represented the eyes on the hands, and even like this. So I think it was like it fits. So it was cool. It was like actually we like it a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, we put it like this together for that.
Well, I feel like in the video, I feel like I'm on a walk with you.
Yeah, that's what it
And
is.
then, yeah, really like, and it's quiet, and it's, it's a space to contemplate, and you're in nature, and then you're in the studio, and then like, I'm just a little fly on the wall. I can just watch you work, And
Yeah.
there's something like, and just the pacing, and they're not long, they're,
Yeah, that's
one of
true.
them's like I don't know, a minute and a half or something, So they're short, but it's like, just, I'm on the journey with you.
Yeah, that's what it's about it, because yeah, I mean, we were doing this together. We were doing it together, but at the same time being cautious. Oh, what is the mask?
Oh.
Or like, oh, when we were like carving it, I was like, you have to leave this door open, and we were like, we were doing like that, and it was like, and after that, what about if we already got infected? I don't know, like, it was all the stress for those moments. I still have the stress,
Yeah.
and but at the same time, it's just like having the intimacy
Yeah, yeah,
and the video.
yeah.
Because sometimes I think a lot of things that I like. Sometimes I kind of have to be fast just in order to keep and appreciate stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give your younger self if you could say, you're gonna write yourself a letter, and like, when you were a young artist that you would have wanted to know?
I think it's like yeah, appreciate. Oh, not appreciate, but yeah, embrace failure. I would say that embrace failure, and take a time, and maybe I still be learning. It's always a learn. Like a friend said, take a time and breathe. and it's good. So that's too. It's included in the art making or image making, you know. And another ones too, like probably not thoughtful, but like have a would say like I don't know, like to not worry about stuff making, not probably. That's something I would like. But other than that, like I don't know. I don't know. Probably wouldn't recognize myself if I was like younger.
Well, but you've been speaking to students all day.
Yeah.
And what have you been telling them? Like,
Yeah, I mean that's what you know, I think like that's the best way, you know. I can just like if I will like think about it, I'll just think about with the students, you know.
Yeah.
I will always like when I'm like hanging out with them, I want them to like do it, you know, like I don't want them to like what if and like I'm like what if we fake what like we look and we just did it, you know. I just don't want to like think on the like describing or trying to imagine things. It's good, but you have to step off and making it into like a something, you know. So you will see. And that's something, that's what I like it, because a lot of them they like can see them, and they're hands-on and they're like straightforward, and I'm like, it should be like that, you know. And that's what I like. That's what I like. Anyway, when you ask me about this, I'm like, I'm totally down, and I will totally be like 100% like hands-on onto something, you know, because I feel like, I mean, it's a great opportunity, you know, a great opportunity for me, for them, for everybody to do it.
Yeah. And I feel like with students, sometimes the error is to not try.
Yeah, exactly.
just not, you know, like when you don't take the picture, when you don't make the drawing, when you don't make the mark on the plate, then you don't know.
Yeah, even I remember when we were like, we were at school or we were something, sometimes like we were like, we don't have any more money for Canvas, so we don't have any more money. We're like, oh, we're not gonna get paid until this day. We have to figure out a way, you know, and we did it. And I remember just going with my friends and just like, just getting scraps or something, and we just to find out and be painting, you know. And I was like, there's no way to stop, you know. There's no way to stop, and that's what I feel always like students, you know, when they're planning to do something, it's like you just do it and just do it, you know. There's no other way. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing this work with our community, with our students. I want to thank you for the way that you've conducted these printmaking workshops or whatever, and the talks, and like it's been amazing. I think your work is incredible.
Thank you.
And it's just been a wonderful opportunity for everyone. So I encourage everyone to come by and see your work and find it online, and you've got to get this book back in print.
Yeah, please. We're gonna have it
you're gonna have to have a second edition of this book, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see what you do next.
And just by the way, this is like the book is for the self-graphics on Marbella. They decided to put this book as a way for every residency artist on this program Beyond the Press will have a book and a way to like create an archive from everybody. So there's the other artists that became after me for the residency is a family from Boluja, Caliarte, and they have a book, and it was great to see it. So I'm so happy the folks like it, and it's here in East Coast. So that's cool.
And having it in book form is wonderful, but it doesn't replace seeing it in person. So I mean,
thank you.
It's been a real privilege and honor.
It's been a great opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.